Stock of the day, something that's in the news today. Graincorp out with their full year guidance, forecasting full year profits to come in between $235 to $80 million. Earnings projected to top 500 million as well, thanks to a strong Australian grain market. Exports expected to top 9 million metric tonnes as it continues to benefit from pretty good weather conditions. Shares firmly in the green this morning, up 14%. Of course, it's into grain storage, grain handling, processing. It's the whole integrated position in that grain silos, if you like, business model silo. Gary, what do you think of the Graincorp result and the stock price at these levels?
Yeah, look, I think obviously it's a great result there. I think you got a bit of a tip there last week with New Farm, obviously having a strong result. Everyone sort of knew the grains was going to be pretty robust here. Obviously a great agricultural sort of last 12 months for Australia. I think the big plus in that update this morning was probably not so much the headline number or cracking result. It was actually that 2023 looks like it's going to be pretty strong as well. So if we look at some of the earnings that were out there, everyone was expecting a pretty good result in 22, but the numbers were definitely tapered off in sort of some of the forecasts for 23. So I think that the fact that they've come out and said 23 looks like it's going to be tracked pretty strong as well. Early indications is 23 is going to be strong. That's probably the big sweetener there today, and that's so pretty positive there. So look, big jump. Hard to chase it after it's rallied 14%, but
yep.
The fact that we've got a stronger outlook, a bit longer term here, is pretty positive for the stock. So if I held the stock, I wouldn't be selling it. I'd be definitely holding on here. I think the stock goes higher. It's just sort of from a trading perspective here. How do you position here, with a reasonable amount of risk reward? So it's a hold for me, but I think it goes higher.
Okay. Pagey, what do you think of Graincorp? You can't get better conditions for a company like this, can you? Because you always talk about cyclical businesses when you come on with businesses like this. Well, this is really peak cycle, isn't it?
Yeah, and this is what happens when everything lines up. So not only have we had great growing conditions, the Northern Hemisphere has had a lot of demand for Aussie grain. They've had supply issues there. Graincorp saying that they haven't had much in terms of supply chain disruptions. So everything has just lined up. And you're seeing this massive jump in profit, which is great news. And as Gary rightly pointed out, it's encouraging that they're expecting the next year to be pretty strong as well. It's a 100-year-old business. It's been around for a long time. And although the last 12 months in terms of the share price has been fantastic, as we panned out, as we did a moment ago, you'll see the longer term performance isn't that great from a share price perspective, but also from a fundamentals perspective. The sales growth has been pretty anemic. Operating margins have been trending down quite sharply recently. And it's yes, a very big, well-established business, but also a very, very tough business. And it's one with, when we're in this game, we're trying to sort of forecast cash flows. And who knows what growing conditions are going to be like in 2024, 2025, et cetera, et cetera. Who knows if they can manage to turn margins around. I think a lot of that's kind of in the price, really. I mean, if just on the numbers that they released today, you're looking at a company on a forward PE of about 7 to 8 or so, which is very, very low. But I think the market's sort of accepting the fact that this is an extraordinarily lumpy business and a very, very difficult business. So it's great that we're experiencing good times at the moment. But generally speaking, I'm trying to look out sort of 5 years plus. What's a business like this earning then? And I think it's hard because of the cyclical nature of it. You sort of have to have an average look through the cycle. You have to be someone who's very prepared for a very lumpy kind of business performance. But for me, that means that, you have to be patient. The next 6 months, the next 12 months is great, but value is in the long-term cash flows, and that's just very difficult. So for me, I go with Gary. I think it's probably a hold. But on the same basis, I think it's, and I know I always say this, I'm a broken record, but opportunity cost is something I think we have to really focus on in investors. So is this a terrible business? Absolutely not. Is this one of the best 20, 30 businesses on the ASX? And, when your money's in Graincorp, it's not in others that might be a little bit better.
Right,
So
yep.
a hold if you like that kind of thing, but for me, personally, I'm not a buyer, I'm not a holder. I think there's better opportunities.